Welcome back. In the last class we have learned about induced EMF, and we know that whenever the magnetic flux linked with a coil changes, a current is induced in the coil. Otherwise, a current is induced in a coil if there is a relative motion between the coil and the source of magnetic field. So today we will discuss about motional EMF. In the case of motional EMF, a current is induced in a conductor when it is moved in a magnetic field. So previously the current was induced in a coil, but here we will see a current can be induced in a conductor when it is moved through a magnetic field. So for that we have an arrangement of metal frame as shown here. So the sides of the metal frame are P, Q, R and S. Here the side RS can be slided over this frame. Okay, and there is a magnetic field B, and you know this represents a direction perpendicular to the plane of the paper such that the direction is into the paper. So a magnetic field is present perpendicular to the paper and plane of the paper, and the side RS can be slided over this frame. That means when the side RS is slided along this frame, you know the area of this frame will change. Okay, RS can be slided over the frame such that the area of the frame changes. Now when the side RS is slided towards the side PQ, that means when this is moved towards PQ, what will happen? The area of this frame will change, and area of let's say this is the length of the frame, and L dash represent the breadth of the frame. Okay, so area will be what? L into L dash. Now we have the definition of flux, which is phi is equal to B dot A. So when the RS is moved towards PQ, we can see that the area changes, right? Or the area through which the magnetic field is passing normally through the plane of the paper changes. That means area changes means what? Flux changes. So that means phi changes. The flux phi changes when it is moved towards when the side RS is moved towards PQ. Now this will induce a magnetic field. This will induce a EMF in this conductor RS, and that induced EMF is given by what? E is equal to d phi by dt. And what is phi? Phi is equal to B dot A. Therefore we can write E is equal to d by dt of, in place of phi you may write what? B A. And here you know the magnetic field, the strength of the magnetic field is a constant. Therefore this can be rewritten as B into dA by dt, because it is the area which is changing, right? And again there is one more point. Area changes means what? It is the this L which is changing. Actually it should be L dash. So there is a small correction needed. For the side PQ you take it as L, and for the side QR take it as L dash. So L dash changes, right? So that is why it is written as here BL into d by dt of L dash. So when the part RS is slided over this frame towards PQ, the length of this frame changes, and it should be L dash. QR should be L dash, and the breadth we may take as L. So there is no change for this breadth, right? Throughout this distance is a constant. Therefore, B into L into what is changing with respect to time is the length L dash. So d by dt of L dash. I repeat, for the side QR it should be L dash, and for the side PQ it should be L. Then with respect to time, there is a change in L dash, therefore we can write E is equal to BL into DL dash by dt. So what is DL dash by dt? Change in distance with respect to time. Actually L dash is a distance, right? L dash is a the distance QR is changing. So when the distance is changing with respect to time, it is the velocity. That is the definition of velocity. Therefore in place of dl dash by dt, we can write what? V. Therefore E is equal to BLV, represent the motional EMF or induced EMF produced due to the motion of this conductor is B into L into V. Now we may define this motional EMF. It is defined as the induced EMF between the ends of a conductor due to its motion in a plane perpendicular to magnetic field is called motional EMF. So the induced EMF between the ends of a conductor. So here the conductor is what? The length RS, right? So this RS represents a conductor which is slided over this frame. So the induced EMF between the ends of a conductor. So the induced EMF between the ends of R and RS due to its motion in a plane perpendicular to magnetic field. So it is moved in a plane that plane is perpendicular to the direction of magnetic field, right? Is called motional EMF. So that is the definition of motional EMF. The induced EMF between the ends of a conductor due to its motion in a plane perpendicular to magnetic field is called motional EMF. So due to this motional EMF there should be a current, right? This EMF should produce a current. So if a current is produced in this frame, in which direction it will flow, or what is the direction of this induced current, right? So if a current is produced in this conductor RS, of course that current will flow through this frame because the whole frame is made of metal, or the whole frame is made of conductors only. Therefore if current is produced in this side RS, it will flow through the frame. Then in which direction this current will flow? So to find the direction of the current flow, we have a rule which is called Fleming's right hand rule, or it is also called Lenz's rule. So don't be confused between Fleming's left hand rule and Fleming's right hand rule, right? We have previously studied Fleming's left hand rule. So here we are going to find the direction of current using Fleming's right hand rule or Lenz's rule. Now what is this rule? If the central finger or middle finger, forefinger and thumb of right hand are stretched mutually perpendicular to each other, and the forefinger points the magnetic field, the thumb points in the direction of the motion, which is force also. Then the central finger points the direction of the induced current. So here we have this forefinger. The forefinger should point the direction of magnetic field. So it is same as in the case of Fleming's left hand rule also, right? So the forefinger represents the direction of field or direction of magnetic field, and thumb points the direction of force or the direction of motion, right? That is why it is direction of force, right? So thumb points the direction of motion or direction of force or direction of velocity, right? All this will be same. Then the induced current will be in the direction of the middle finger, or the induced current will be in the direction of central finger. So that is the Fleming's right hand rule. Now using this Fleming's right hand rule, we can find the direction of current induced in the previous coil or in the previous frame. So for that, again I am redrawing it. So this is the frame that we had just drawn, and this is the side RS, right, which was moving towards side PQ, and this is the magnetic field. So we know that this represents a direction which is into the paper, right? So a cross mark with a circle represents a direction perpendicular to the plane of the paper, and it is pointing into the paper, right? So B is into the paper, or our forefinger should be into the paper. Now you may hold your three fingers mutually perpendicular to each other as shown here, and your forefinger should be into the screen or into the paper. It should be pointing into the paper. Okay. Then we are moving the side RS towards PQ, right? So this is the direction of motion, or this is the direction of force. So now you may keep your pointing the forefinger into the paper. Please turn the thumb in such a way that it is in the direction of this arrow mark, right? It is in the direction of arrow mark. So now you can see that your middle finger is pointing downward, right? Your middle finger should be pointing downward. Means what? In this conductor, the current is produced in the downward direction, or the direction of induced current is downward. And since the whole frame is made of metal or made of conductor, we may assume that the current is flowing in this direction, right? So this is the clockwise direction. That means the induced current in this frame is in the clockwise direction. So using Fleming's right hand rule, we can find the direction of induced current formed in this frame, or we can find the direction of induced current due to the motional EMF. Now another section is eddy current. Again, previously we have learned that an EMF is induced in a coil or in a conductor when there is a changing magnetic field, right? Now in eddy current, it is not a coil or it is not a conductor, but it is a block of metal, right? So a big volume of metal is placed in a changing magnetic field, and then a current is induced in this big volume of metal, or a big chunk of metal, right? And this current is produced within this metal, which is called eddy current. And this current will be in the form of a loop. So the induced circulating or looping current produced in a solid metal due to change in magnetic field in the metal is called eddy current. So I repeat, it is not a thin wire, it is not a thin conductor, it is not a coil, but it is a big solid metal, right? It is a big solid block which is placed in a magnetic field, and that magnetic field is varying. Then a current is produced within this metal, which is called eddy current. So here you have a huge metallic block, right? So it is a huge metallic block, and this metallic block is placed in a varying magnetic field. That is why the arrow mark of this magnetic field are not in a single direction, right? So this represents the field is varying. So when this huge metal block is placed in a changing magnetic field, there will be eddy current produced within this metal, and it is formed in the form of whirlpool, or it is formed in the form of loop. So this green circle, right? These green circles represent the eddy current. These green circles represent the eddy current. You can see it is in the shape of a loop, or it is in the shape of a whirlpool, right? So this kind of current produced within this metal, right? It is not on the surface of the metal, but it is present within the metal. It is present inside the volume of the block. Okay, and this kind of current produced in a metallic block, when it is placed in a changing magnetic field, is called eddy current. and current is in the form of whirlpool, or it is in the form of a loop, and this current cannot be taken out because it is produced or it is present within the metallic block, and this current cannot be taken out for any useful purpose, right? But the presence of this current will heat up this metallic block. Okay, the presence of eddy current will heat up the metallic block, and as a result slowly this metallic block will heat up, right? Or you can say there is a wastage of energy, or this eddy current result in the wastage of energy. That is the point, right? Still we can find some application for this eddy current, and the first one is induction. In induction furnace, eddy currents are used for melting iron ore, etc. So you might be very familiar with the induction cooker or induction furnace that you are using in your home. Then second application is in speedometer, eddy currents are used to measure the instantaneous speed of the vehicle. So all the vehicles are having this speedometer, and the speedometer gives a deflection, or it gives a reading based on the eddy current produced, right? So based on the eddy current produced, the speedometer gives a reading, whether it is a digital meter or whether it is an analog meter with a needle. It is because of the eddy current that it gives the reading in the speedometer. Then in electric brakes of the train, eddy currents are produced to stop the rotation of the axle of the wheel. So for stopping the train we are using eddy current. So these are some applications that we can find for eddy current. Now, since resistance of a metal is small, eddy current will be large. You know that if there is a small resistance, there is a huge current. Since the resistance of the metal is small, eddy current is large. So eddy current can be minimized by increasing the resistance of a metal. For any given metal, there will be a certain resistance. It is not you cannot directly increase or decrease the resistance of a metal, right? But eddy current can be minimized by increasing the resistance of the metal by some other means. So laminated iron core in bundles are used in transformers to reduce the eddy current, right? So this is the condition. So it is the core of a transformer. It is a huge metal block, right? So instead of using a huge metal block, we have slices, right? We have slices in large number, which are bundled together. Okay, so there are large number of slices of this metal which are bundled together to form a huge metal block, right? And it is on this core that we are winding the primary and secondary of a transformer. So we are all familiar with the drawing of the transformer, right? So this is how we are drawing it normally. There will be a core at in the first place. Then over this core, so this is the core. So over this core we will make turns of primary, and on the other side we will make turns of secondary. So this is how we are making a transformer. So it is the same core, right? It is the same core. So it is over this frame that we are winding the primary and secondary. So instead of using a huge metal block, we are taking it in the form of laminated cores, right? So each of these frames will be laminated, or each of these frame will be insulated from one another using some kind of varnish, right? So each of these frame will be laminated, or each of these frame will be painted with some kind of varnish, so that now each section is not making any contact to the neighboring section. So this way we can keep all these together, and this is how we are reducing the eddy current. So laminated iron cores in bundles are used in transformers to reduce eddy current. Now we have another experiment to show the application of this eddy current. So the arrangement is as shown here. Two current carrying coils generate a strong magnetic field, right? So these are the two coils that we are using, and these will generate a strong magnetic field, right? This is bundled by the iron core, right? So it is over this. You can see this is how it is present. This is the iron core, right, over which these two coils have wound, and these are the two coils, and these are the two iron. This is iron core. It should be just like this, and now we are showing these two cores in two different colors to show their polarity. So these two will be so this is green and this is red, just to show that these are having two different polarities. That means say one is positive and other one is say negative. So just to show that these have two different polarities, we are showing it in two different colors. Now it is allowed, a metallic plate is allowed to swing between the space between the two iron cores, right? So now a metallic sheet is allowed to swing between these two as shown here. So this is the metallic sheet, right? Now it is allowed to swing, right? So this is how it is being allowed to swing between the magnetic field, in the magnetic field. So at present there is no magnetic field present, right? Because there is no current given, or it is approximately 0, right? So presently there is no current or there is no magnetic field produced, right? Now if we increase the current from 0 to maximum, or if we increase the voltage, right? If we increase the voltage, then there will be a magnetic field produced, right? And because of this magnetic field, there will be an eddy current produced in these green and red metal blocks, right? And which in turn will produce a magnetic field between these two, or in the space between the red and green metal blocks. So I will show you. Okay, now we will slowly turn this, right? Now you can see the motion of the plate stops, or the pendulum stops. Okay, so I will show that part again. So now it is swinging between the space. It is swinging. Now we are increasing the voltage, right? Now it is suddenly stops. Okay. So this happens because of the magnetic field produced between these two, right? So the magnetic field produced between these two will magnetize this metallic plate, and as a result it will be stopped. So how this metal plate decelerates when it passes through the space between these two green and red metal core? You know, there is a magnetic field between these two, right? There is a magnetic field produced between these two. So when this metal plate pass between these two metal frames, actually it is passing through a magnetic field, right? And when it is entering into this space, the magnetic flux linked with this will increase, and by the time it leaves this space, the magnetic field linked with this metal plate will decrease. So that means there is a, with respect to this metallic plate, it is in a changing magnetic field, right? So when it enters, the magnetic flux linked to this frame will increase, and it is maximum when it is exactly between the two cores, and by the time it leaves this space, then the magnetic flux linked with this frame will decrease. So in short, there will be an eddy current produced within this metal, right? So there is an eddy current produced inside this metal plate, and which in accordance with the Lenz's law should oppose the motion of this pendulum itself. So this pendulum comes to rest very quickly. So that is how it is being stopped. So I repeat, as the pendulum swings to and fro, the magnetic flux linked with it changes, and consequently eddy current is produced in this metal frame or in this metal plate. This, according to Lenz's law, will oppose the motion of the pendulum, or the eddy current producer will oppose the motion of the pendulum itself, or the motion of this metal plate itself. Hence the pendulum comes to rest, or there is a damping, right? There is a damping for the motion of this pendulum or of this metal plate. So that is how it is being stopped. So with this example of eddy current, we are winding up here. Thank you for watching.